Imagine, like, spending $20,000 to build this absolutely beautiful, state-of-the-art storefront right in the middle of the busiest street in town.
Oh, prime real estate.
Exactly. Prime real estate. You stock all the shelves, you flip the sign to open, but then you quickly realize you accidentally installed a front door that is just, well, it's so incredibly heavy that your customers physically cannot pull it open.
Oh, that's a nightmare. They're just yanking on the handle.
Right. They pull, they struggle, and after like 5 seconds, they just get frustrated and walk away to the store next door.
Which is exactly what happens online.
Yes, exactly. On the internet, that heavy front door is a slow-loading website.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And whether you are an entrepreneur prepping to build a completely new online business from the ground up, or you're just a curious learner who has always wondered, why some websites load instantly while others take absolutely forever just to show you a single image, well, this deep dive is for you.
It's a huge issue, yeah.
Today, we are looking at a comprehensive guide about web architecture. Specifically, we're exploring how to choose an Oxygen Builder development agency.
Which is a very specific, very powerful tool.
It is. And the guide uses this top-tier agency in this space, called Viral Chili, as its core benchmark for success. So, okay, let's unpack this. Because on the surface, choosing a web agency sounds like a simple administrative task, right?
Right. You think it's just checking a box.
Yeah, like you just hire a coder, you pay the invoice, and boom, you get a website. But the material we are looking at today makes it incredibly clear that making the wrong choice isn't just a minor inconvenience.
No, not at all. It is a massive liability. I mean, your website is arguably your most powerful business asset in the digital age.
Oh, totally.
It's serving as your storefront, your sales team, your customer service rep, and your entire brand identity, all rolled into one ecosystem.
All working 24/7.
Exactly. And the stakes here are just incredibly high because making the wrong choice in who builds it doesn't just result in an ugly website. It actually costs you twice.
Wait, costs you twice. How so?
Well, you pay the first time to have built poorly.
Mhm.
Right. So you're dealing with delays, bugs, just pure frustration. And then inevitably you have to pay a second time to hire a competent developer to come in, literally tear the entire foundation down and rebuild it from scratch.
Ugh, which sounds like an absolute nightmare.
It happens more often than you'd think.
I bet. And I guess that brings us to the tool at the center of this entire discussion, which is Oxygen Builder. Because before we can even talk about who to hire, we really need to understand the tool they're using, right?
Right. And why it requires such specialized talent in the first place.
Exactly, because the guide notes that Oxygen Builder is a visual site builder for WordPress, but it emphasizes heavily, I should add, that it is not your average drag-and-drop tool.
No, it is fundamentally different from the visual builders most people are familiar with. It completely rewrites the rules of how a WordPress site is constructed on the back end.
Yeah, and I was thinking about how to explain this, and I came up with an analogy.
Okay, let's hear it.
So using a standard page builder like Elementor or Divi, the ones most non-developers have heard of, it's kind of like popping a microwave dinner into the oven.
Okay, a microwave dinner.
I like that.
Right. It's super easy, it's accessible to almost anyone, and you get a result really quickly without needing any special cooking skills.
Just hit 3 minutes and you're done.
Exactly. But your options are totally limited to whatever is prepackaged in that little plastic tray.
Right, you can't change the recipe.
You really can't. Oxygen Builder, on the other hand, is like stepping into a fully stocked professional commercial kitchen. You have access to absolutely every raw ingredient, the HTML, the CSS, the PHP, the dynamic data.
All the raw materials.
Yeah, you can cook up anything you can possibly imagine, but if you don't actually know how to cook, well, you are going to burn the building down.
That is actually a highly accurate way to visualize it, especially when we look at the mechanics of website bloat.
Website bloat, yeah. Because traditional WordPress page builders rely on what are called theme frameworks. So to use your analogy, these frameworks are the plastic tray.
Ah, okay. The container holding it all together.
Right. They're loaded with thousands of lines of pre-written code just to make that microwave experience possible. So when a user loads a page, the browser has to download underlying scripts and styles for sliders, buttons, animations.
Even if you aren't using them.
Exactly. Just in case the designer decided to use them on that specific page. It creates massive bloat. But Oxygen Builder does something radical. It completely strips away those bloated theme frameworks.
Wow, just gets rid of them.
It bypasses the traditional WordPress theme system entirely.
So it's essentially handing the developer a completely blank canvas. There's no hidden code running in the background at all.
None. Zero. And because it isn't forcing the browser to load thousands of lines of unused code, Oxygen produces some of the absolute fastest, most lightweight WordPress sites on the internet.
Which goes back to opening that heavy front door easily.
Exactly. But here's the catch, and this is why your commercial kitchen analogy really holds up. That raw power demands a deep foundational understanding of web development principles.
Right, you have to know what you're doing.
It requires a firm grasp of CSS architecture, for example.
Let's pause there for a second. What do we mean by CSS architecture in this context, like for the non-coders out there?
Sure. So in a basic builder, if you want 10 headlines to be blue, an amateur might just click on each headline one by one and select blue.
Just highlighting and changing the color.
Right. But behind the scenes, the builder is writing 10 separate pieces of messy inline code. In Oxygen, a developer using proper CSS architecture creates one global rule.
Oh, like a master switch.
Exactly. A single line of code that says all these headlines across the entire site are blue. It keeps the code base incredibly small and clean. But a developer who only knows how to drag and drop pre-made blocks, they won't understand how to structure that underlying architecture.
They'll try to use Oxygen like a microwave.
Yes, and they will create an absolute tangled mess of code.
Wow. Okay, so we've established that the tool is essentially raw power, and it requires a master chef to utilize it properly without, causing a disaster.
Absolutely.
But since the tool requires a master, how exactly do you verify an agency's mastery before you sign a contract and hand over your business's capital? Because they all say they're experts.
Oh, they all claim to be the best, yeah.
Right. Well, the text actually provides a clear 5-point checklist for this. It outlines the pillars of a true Oxygen agency, and the first two pillars are proof and data.
Proof has to be the foundation of any hiring decision. I mean, you need a strong portfolio. But the vital keyword there is verifiable.
Verifiable, meaning not just pretty pictures.
Right. A lot of agencies will show you these beautiful static mock-ups of websites they claim to have built.
Yeah, the guide explicitly says you cannot just look at pretty screenshots. You have to ask for the live URLs of sites they have built specifically in Oxygen.
Because a static image tells you absolutely nothing about how the site actually functions in the real world.
Anyone can make a pretty picture in Photoshop.
Exactly. And once you have those live URLs, you need to run them through independent performance testing tools like Google PageSpeed Insights and GTmetrix.
So you're actually testing their previous work yourself.
Yes. A genuinely skilled Oxygen agency will consistently produce websites that score exceptionally high on these performance benchmarks. Because, like we established, clean Oxygen builds are inherently lean.
Right.
If the live site takes 6 seconds to load, it means the developer bloated the commercial kitchen.
They made a mess. Okay, and that leads us to the second pillar, which is where things get really technical. But honestly, it's arguably the most important for a modern business, and that is a deep knowledge of dynamic data.
Oh, dynamic data is crucial.
Yeah, the text points out that a lot of businesses today need much more than just a simple brochure website with, like, a phone number and a basic contact form.
Right, they need complex ecosystems. They might have a full e-commerce store or a gated membership portal or complex internal databases that need to display information conditionally.
Let's make that concrete for a second. The guide specifically mentions tools like Advanced Custom Fields or ACF Toolset and MetaBox. For the curious learner listening right now, these are tools that allow a business to create highly specific databases.
Right.
Imagine a real estate website, right? A standard WordPress post just has a title and a text box. But a real estate site needs separate, sortable fields for square footage, number of bedrooms, asking price, all of that.
Exactly. And wiring that custom data into a visual builder requires serious coding chops.
It really does.
And this is where you separate the amateurs from the professionals. If you run a WooCommerce store, your site is constantly pulling dynamic data, real-time inventory levels, user profiles, shipping variables based on location.
It's all moving in real time.
Yes. The agency must know exactly how Oxygen interacts with those complex data tools you mentioned. Integrating dynamic data in Oxygen isn't just dragging a text box onto a screen. It requires writing custom database queries.
Which is actual programming.
It is. If the agency doesn't understand the underlying database architecture, they won't just make your site look bad on the front end. They will literally break the functional logic of your business.
Oh, man. Like, people can't check out.
Right. Customers won't be able to calculate shipping, or paying members will be locked out of their accounts. It's a disaster.
Okay, wait, hold on a second. I need to jump in and push back here.
Sure, what's that?
Because I'm looking at pillar number 4 on this checklist, which is SEO and performance optimization.
Right.
If Oxygen is already this lightweight, magical tool that strips away all the bloat, bypasses heavy themes, and gives us this clean code, doesn't just automatically make the site fast and SEO friendly. Like, why is an entire pillar dedicated to performance optimization if the tool already does the heavy lifting?
That is a great question. And what's fascinating here is that we often confuse a tool's potential with its default reality.
Potential versus reality.
Right. Oxygen provides the environment for a lightning-fast website, but that potential only becomes reality if the developer actively knows how to optimize it.
Ah, so it doesn't just happen by magic just by installing the plugin?
Not at all. Think of it like this. A race car is only fast if you actually tune the engine.
Makes sense.
The source lists exact technical SEO and performance requirements that an agency has to actively implement on top of the Oxygen framework. For instance, they must manually minify and defer scripts.
Okay, break that down for us. What does minifying and deferring actually mean in practice? Like, how does it make a site faster?
So minifying is the process of stripping out all the unnecessary characters from the raw source code,
Unnecessary characters, like,
like white space, line breaks, developer comments, stuff. Humans need to read the code, but computers don't. To a computer, a space is a character it has to process.
oh, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So by removing all of them, it makes the code files physically smaller, meaning they travel across the internet and download to your phone much faster.
Okay, that's minifying. What about deferring?
Deferring scripts is about prioritization. It means telling the browser, hey, don't pause the loading of the main visual content, the text and the images, just to read this background tracking script.
Oh, right, like an analytics code or something.
Exactly. You tell it, load the important visual stuff first and read the background script later.
Got it. So the user feels like the website loaded instantly because they can already start reading the article, even if some invisible analytics tool is still loading in the background.
Precisely. It's about perceived load time. And the agency also has to implement a proper caching strategy.
Which is what, exactly?
It's essentially saving a static snapshot of the website on the server. That way, the database doesn't have to rebuild the page from scratch every single time a new user clicks a link.
Oh, that makes total sense. It just hands them the snapshot.
Right. They also need to configure lazy loading for images, meaning an image at the very bottom of the page doesn't even try to download until the user actually scrolls down near it.
Why load it if they never see it, right?
Exactly. And from an SEO perspective, they have to structure the content with proper heading hierarchies and schema markup.
Schema markup.
Yeah, it's hidden code that speaks directly to Google's search algorithms, telling it exactly what the page is about. If the developer doesn't know how to implement all of that, Oxygen's inherent speed advantage is completely wasted.
Wow. Okay, it's like having the fastest processor in your laptop, but if you have 100 heavy programs running in the background and no cooling fan, it's still going to freeze up on you.
Exactly right.
So that covers the highly technical side of things. But, even if they nail the code and the speed, there's a human element that ruins just as many website builds. I mean, if they can't communicate, the flawless code doesn't really matter.
It really doesn't.
Let's look at pillars 3 and 5, which are communication and support.
These are just as critical as the back-end architecture. A technically talented agency that operates in a black box where you never hear from them is a massive liability.
Yeah, the guide says you need to evaluate their communication right from the initial inquiry phase. Like,
Yeah.
are they responsive? Do they set crystal clear timelines?
Right, are they organized?
Exactly. Do they have a structured onboarding process and use a central project management tool? So you aren't just sitting in the dark for 3 months wondering if your website is actually being built.
And that structured approach has to extend far beyond launch day. Pillar 5 is post-launch support and maintenance.
Because the work isn't over when the site goes live?
Not at all. Websites are living ecosystems. They are never truly finished. They require ongoing security updates, plugin compatibility maintenance, and design tweaks as your business scales.
Oh, sure.
But remember, because an Oxygen build is so highly customized and lacks a traditional theme, you can't just hand it off to any random WordPress support desk.
Right, they wouldn't know how the kitchen was organized.
Exactly. You need the agency that built that custom architecture to support it. An agency that vanishes the minute the final invoice is paid leaves you incredibly vulnerable.
Okay, so knowing what a good, structured, technically proficient agency looks like is half the battle. The other half is spotting the fakes before they take your deposit. We really need to pivot and look at the warning signs.
The red flags.
Yeah, The material highlights several immediate red flags. We've touched on a few, right? If they cannot show you live, verifiable Oxygen Builder sites, just end the conversation.
Absolutely. Run away.
If their portfolio websites look generic or run sluggishly when you test them yourself, walk away.
Yeah. And it also explicitly mentions extremely low prices.
Oh, the bargain hunters.
Right. If an agency is coming in dramatically lower than everyone else for a complex, custom dynamic data build, it means they are cutting corners somewhere.
There's no free lunch.
Exactly.
Is
They might
it?
be rushing the database design, skipping the performance testing entirely, or, like we just said, planning to ghost you on communication once the build gets difficult.
But the most insidious red flag, the big trap that you really have to watch out for, is an agency that actually tries to talk you out of using Oxygen Builder in favor of a more familiar, easier tool.
Oh, the bait and switch.
Yes, you go to them saying, hey, I want the performance and clean code of Oxygen, and they reply with, well, actually, we think your business would be much happier with this simple drag-and-drop tool we've used 100 times.
Which raises an incredibly important question.
What's that?
Are they advising you to switch for the genuine benefit of your business's goals, or are they advising you to switch to cover up their own lack of technical skill in a complex environment?
That is the ultimate million-dollar question right there.
It is. A genuinely capable Oxygen Builder agency will champion the platform. They know the superior speed, security, and scalability it delivers, and they won't shy away from the hard coding work required to unlock those results.
Which brings us to the ultimate question for this deep dive. Who actually does this right? Like, what does a genuinely capable agency look like in the real world?
That's where we get to the benchmarks.
Right. What's interesting about this guide is that it doesn't just leave you with abstract advice and a checklist. It points to a specific agency, Viral Chili, as its benchmark for success in this space.
Yes, the source uses Viral Chili as the gold standard against which other Oxygen Builder agencies should really be measured.
And why them specifically?
Well, specifically because of how they handle the exact complexities we've been discussing.
Okay, and based on the client data evaluated in this guide, their approach really is fascinating. I mean, they don't just build sites that look visually appealing in a static mock-up.
Right, anyone can do that.
They engineer sites that perform under heavy traffic, that actively convert visitors into buyers, and that scale without breaking as a business grows. They manage to perfectly merge front-end design sensibility with that rare, deep technical expertise in dynamic data and CSS architecture we were just talking about.
Yeah, they treat the Oxygen platform the way it is meant to be treated as a professional framework.
Not a microwave dinner.
Exactly. Whether they are building for a growing e-commerce brand dealing with thousands of transactions, a local service business needing local SEO, or a heavy content publisher, the text points out that Viral Chili approaches the architecture with absolute precision.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The guide breaks down the specific feedback from clients who have actually gone through the development process with Viral Chili.
And what did the data show?
Well, those clients consistently highlight 3 measurable things. First, the clarity of communication and project management throughout the whole build. No black boxes.
Okay, hidden pillar 3.
Yep. Second, the absolute cleanliness of the delivered code. No bloat, no broken databases.
Which is huge.
And third, the measurable mathematical improvement in their website's performance and Google rankings compared to their old sites. Viral Chili builds with technical SEO and discoverability in mind from day one.
Right, so they don't treat performance as an afterthought you just slap on at the end.
Exactly. They treat it as a core deliverable.
And that distinction is the difference between an agency that simply uses Oxygen and an agency that has mastered it.
Completely agree.
So to help the reader find that level of mastery in their own search, the source synthesizes all of this advice down to 5 strategic questions.
Oh, the interview questions.
Yes. These are the 5 questions you must ask any agency during the final interview phase before you sign a contract.
Let's break those down because this isn't just a simple checklist. These are basically strategic traps for fake agencies.
They really are.
Huh.
So question 1, how many Oxygen Builder sites have you launched in the last 12 months?
So specifically the last year.
Yes. You are asking this because the web development landscape changes incredibly fast. If they built one Oxygen site 3 years ago, their knowledge of the platform's current capabilities is entirely obsolete.
They wouldn't know the new features.
Exactly. It forces them to prove current active mastery.
Love that. Okay, question 2. What is your process for handling revisions during development?
This tests the reality of their project management. A professional agency has a defined structure for feedback.
Like, you get 2 rounds of edits at this specific stage.
Right. Amateurs will just say, oh, we'll fix whatever you want, which sounds great at first.
Until you get trapped in a cycle of endless emails and unexpected astronomical billing for minor changes.
Exactly. It's a huge red flag if they don't have a process.
Okay, question 3. Can you walk me through how you approach performance optimization in Oxygen?
This is where you sit back and listen for the technical details we discussed earlier.
The minification, the deferring.
Yes, you want to hear them talk about caching strategies, minification, and lazy loading. If they simply wave their hands and say, oh, don't worry, Oxygen is naturally fast,
Yeah,
you immediately know they don't understand the platform.
right. You want to make sure they know how to tune the engine, not just, buy the car.
Exactly.
Question 4. What does your support structure look like after launch?
Again, this is ensuring you aren't abandoned. You need to know their SLA, their service level agreement for security updates and emergency fixes when things inevitably need tweaking.
Because websites are living ecosystems.
Right. You need to know who's answering the phone when something breaks on a Friday night.
Good point. And finally, question 5. Can you provide references from past clients who had similar technical requirements?
The ultimate proof.
Yeah.
You want to talk to a human being who has actually survived the development process with them and can verify that the site still works a year later.
And the source makes a vital point here, doesn't it?
It does. It points out that a mature, confident agency, like the Viral Chili benchmark we discussed, they will answer every single one of those 5 questions strategically and without a second of hesitation.
Right, because they do it every day.
Exactly. They have the internal processes built out, and they have the hard data to back it up.
It's essentially a foolproof blueprint for due diligence. Choosing an Oxygen Builder agency is a massive financial and strategic decision for your business. A proper build takes your vision and transforms it into a lightning-fast, highly ranked digital asset that actually converts your hard-earned visitors into paying customers.
A bad build.
Well, we established the stakes at the very beginning. It will cost you twice the money and triple the stress.
Absolutely. If we connect this to the bigger picture, knowledge is really only valuable when it's actively applied.
Very true.
You now have the exact framework to evaluate these web agencies. To look past the pretty static mock-ups. You know how to ask the hard technical questions about dynamic data, minification, and post-launch support.
Right, to demand clean, fast web architecture.
Yeah.
You don't have to settle for the limited, bloated microwave dinner anymore.
You really don't.
You can demand the fully stocked commercial kitchen as long as you make sure you are hiring a master chef to run it. I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about the rest of your day or, the next time you find yourself staring at a loading screen.
Which happens far too often.
It does. We spent all this time talking about how powerful tools like Oxygen Builder, when they are placed in the hands of the right development agency, can create web experiences that are incredibly lean, lightning fast, and seamlessly powerful.
Yeah.
So you really have to wonder how much of the sluggish, frustrating, slow-loading internet that we navigate every single day isn't actually a technology problem at all, but simply the result of developers choosing the easy path instead of the right one.
That is a great question to end on.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking under the hood of the tools you use every day, and we will catch you next time.